Bullshit, I can't hear you. Sound off like you got a pair.
Hey, Gumby. What's up, man? Happy Sunday. I am moving slow. We had a long day at the track today. But I wasn't going to wuss out on another stream. Let's see. I think I got everything up and running. Oh, this wasn't a race today. This was just practice. And the sun was just really intense. I'm like, dude, it is not even, it's the first day of March. It's not even close to spring and summer yet. This is ridiculous. It wasn't hot. The sun was just unyielding. Alright, I think I got everything set up. Alright. Alright. Gubby, so when does tornado season officially kick off for you? Is it in April? Let's see. Hey, Rabbit, what's up, man? Happy Sunday. Howdy, Bobby. What's up, good sir? Let's see. I think I've got everything set up. I'll probably remember what I forgot after the stream is already like thoroughly underway. Oh God, Rabbit. I figured it was sarcasm, but I could also imagine someone getting very bored in doing this. I connected my Litter Robot 4 barbecue smoker, deck lights, and irrigation system to an API with the help of Claude, so that when the cat poops, the smoker will fire up a plume of white smoke. The irrigation will create a water display, and the deck lights will flash in joy.
Why can't we talk it over?
A Pope smoke event. One of my favorite things that happened, we were living in Louisiana when the Superdome, I think that's the one in Louisiana, where the Saints play, when the roof caught on fire. And the big joke going around Louisiana was that the Saints have elected a new pope because there was smoke coming from the roof. I just could stop kind of giggling like at that one. All right, let's kick this sucker off, light this candle, and see what's gonna break now. Hey, nothing. All right, look at that go. I did get a new nerd shirt from Sock, by the way. You can't see the bottom of it, but it says Safety Team 1986. Oh yeah. I'm just waking up too because the kids crashed out super early because we were at the practice track all day. Well, not all day. We were out there for several hours. And Agent Zero rode hard. He was doing really great. And Honey Badger came out with us too. And we were having just a great time out there checking on stuff. One of the kids had one little oopsie and he busted I think he bent his upper A-arm on one of his front tires, so we had to haul him off the track. He was fine, thank God, but he just had a little oopsie because him and another ATV went like this and just. But he's also our youngest and most inexperienced rider, so he's learning. So now he is very aware of being aware of his surroundings before he just makes a sudden left turn. So, fun days right there. Let's see. The context should not be 92%. I just compacted it here. Actually, I think we're good here. Let me go pull up the GitHub. Hold on, let me move this. Actually, hold on, where is it? Oh, I didn't submit a pull request to bring that one over. Not like I really need to. I don't have to do this. I'm just doing this. Wait, this is one commit behind master? No, go back. I don't want to merge that. Yeah, open pull request. Here we go. Because we want to merge the Poseidon plugin over to master. Actually, hold on. I didn't mean to close that. Hang on. I want to do something real quick. Because we've already got it committed. So just something I want to test real quick. Which we shouldn't have anything to commit or push. I did that last time, but I just want to see what it's going to do for the PR side of this. For this particular plugin, I just want to see what it does. Oh, that's no problem, Gumby. I understand, man. Not a problem. When the stream gets nice and big and chunky, and we've got tons of folks in here just hacking away and finding out, then I'll put you on payroll, and then I'll yell at you for bailing. Shut up, baby. I know it. All right, let's see here. Let me go back over to pull requests. There we go. Let me see what this has in here. Good enough. Manual verification of the Apollo commands on the Windows target. Wait, we didn't expand Apollo coverage. Actually, hold on, let me ask. I'm going to ask about that. Why was the PR said to expand Apollo coverage? Because we didn't touch Apollo. We made a minor difference to the integrations, the integration testing. Rather than having one config that holds everything, we like one sample config. We had 3 configs, one for each of the test agents. So that way we could test them individually without having to go through the whole shebang. Hold on, before I tell it to rebase it, let me see what it said here. So I asked it, hey, why are you saying we did Apollo coverage? This was not what we covered. We covered Poseidon. Wait, no. Branch 7 was already committed to master. Oh, okay. It didn't realize we'd already done pull request 4. That's what happened. Yeah, rebase this. I wanted to rebase and then go through and do this. I'm glad I tested that because I wanted to see what it was going to do here. There we go. Let's re-push this back up to get. The next thing we need to work on is after we get this, I'm just going through the motions now because I just want to learn, basically. Yes, do that. So what I'm doing is I'm going through the motions now, having it actually do the full PR, testing it out, looking at everything. And then we're going to work on... No, don't merge it. Don't merge it. What are you doing? The interface is all screwified. But anyway, what I was doing is we're going to do, after we get this up and running, we need to work on Arachne. Yeah, just go ahead and merge. Delete the branch. There we go. Okay. Let me check something real quick here. Let's see. Get branch master. That's not it. Checkout. This should have been checkout. Well, it'd be checkout if I could spell. There we go. Let's clear that out of here. Okay, so now we need to do another spec in here. And what is this? So we start with specify. Specify, we want to expand coverage for Arachne to cover all. Yeah, we'll just say to cover all commands. I'm down with that. I like getting paid. Dude, I love that idea. Yeah, being able to like have folks that could do this, not necessarily dedicated, right? But be able to say like, hey, yeah, you're coming in, you're doing work and you're helping out with it. You deserve to be compensated. All right, let's get this guy cooking here. So we've got Apollo and Poseidon. They're good. Yeah, don't ask for that. So now once we get Arachne up and running, there's actually something I want to work on. Just not sure how I want to work on it. And that is, I think we need to go back and rethink about the the agent structure for HackBot. Because right now, the agent structure it's very old. So when we started working on HackBot, everything was still kind of a little bit nebulous, and it's advanced so far beyond that. So now instead, I think I want to go back and redo it before we actually start working on the post-exploitation agent. And I hate to say that, but I believe there's a better way to kind of abstract everything out of there and get it working towards that. So I think what we need to do is go look at what we currently have for HackBot, for the recon enumeration, because they're actually kind of identical clones of each other. Those could easily be abstracted into like a single agent. And then looking at how we kind of ran the exploitation agent kind of worked in a very similar loop. For putting up with my BS. Dude, and that's kind of how I feel too. It's like, hey, by the way, I can do this. Anyway, by the way, I hope everybody's having an absolutely fantastic Sunday. I had a really good one today. We, like I said, went to church this morning, checked in on my mom. We had some time to visit with her, took the boys out to the track. They had a great time. In fact, hang on, let me check something real quick. Let me see if I can pull something up real quick. I was trying to see if I had any good videos from today. Yeah, actually, here we go. I'll leave the sound off because all you're going to hear is that from the engines. But here we go. So this is another young boy who's in our racing group, codename Peanut. And this is Daniel right here. This is Agent Zero. So they were just coming in and Agent Zero was just right on his butt the whole time. And you can't hear it because I turned the sound off, but he is just flooring it. Poor kid. I need to work on his clutch. My father-in-law didn't quite believe me when I said, hey, I think he smoked his clutch. He's like, no, I don't think he was just giving enough gas. And you could hear it while he was out there. It was still running, but he had lost a lot of power. That's what was going on. All right, let me double check this. This is all stuff in here. All right. Arachne only has 9 commands? Oh, interesting. Hold on. Let's go pull up Mythic real quick. Does it really only... No, surely not. No. I don't know if it's talking about... If it's talking about in the configuration there. Here, this should be our Arachne web shell. Let me just do a help command real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9... Holy crap, it does only have 9 commands. How did I never realize that? Well, cool. All right, but it looks like we've got to do some updates on it, though. Because it said it noticed that there were some errors in the parameters. No needs clarification. The scope's well defined and ready for clarify. Yeah. Clarify. Go double check things. Because what it's saying is some of these ones had mismatches in their parameter structure. So let's go clean those up and then we'll test it. Drew, Helium, and Throbbing. What is up, gentle minds? Happy Sunday. I was actually really hoping that when we get the kids back out on the track, I would be able to start running that old Yamaha blaster that we've got and go around the track with them and start getting back into it myself. Unfortunately, all of my blaster money is now going towards replacing the roof on the house. So, yeah, that's going to suck. Throbbing, I will do my best. Ask away. Always feel free to ask. Never feel like you need to ask to ask. No critical ambiguities, coverage summary. Okay. One assumption to verify during planning is whether the YAML loader already supports the file type parameter. If not, scope will expand to include the YAML loader pie changes. Okay. Well, in that case, I believe we can just go ahead and proceed to planning. So, yep. Plan it out. Nothing to clarify in this case. Nice. Both NAND and NOR create perfect encryption. How would you do that with NOR? Let me think. Let me double check something real quick. NOR or... I have to remember the operations for XOR and NOR. Because NOR was not one of the ones I regularly used. So NOR was neither or. Yeah. So here's how that kind of plays out in here. For anybody who's wondering, we'll do a little bit of some truthy tables in here. So what he's asking is, you could do using a not and or a NOR. So let's start with like what's the usual one that a lot of people use, is like very basic encryption, which becomes the XOR. So an exclusive OR. So if you have an input table, so you have let's see. I can't. Right, here we go. So if you have an A, a B, and then whatever the final result is here, right? If you have both of these turned off, then this should be 0, if I remember correctly. I'm trying to think. God, it's been so long since I did an XOR. And then if you did, let's see, 1, 0, this would be a 1. If you did a 0, 1, let me take that back. Bring this back. Yeah, 1, 0, this would be a 1. 1, 1, this would be a 0. And then if you had a 0, 1, then we're going to have a 1, just like this. Boom, boom. And so for a NOR gate, I had to actually go look this up to make sure I was remembering it correctly, because it's not one I use very frequently. If we've got the same scenario here, so we have inputs A and B, and then we have a result over here, then for a NOR gate, it is if neither or, right? So they're both off, and then we have, if either of them is on, then it becomes off. So it's a not or. Oh, it's just a not or. God, I'm an idiot. Because for this case here, then we've got 1, 0. That's going to be a 0. And if we have 1, 1, I don't know what. Sorry, the table's leaning here. That's going to also be a 0 right here. So how would you do this with a not or? I'm actually not sure. XOR makes it kind of straightforward, right? Because what you do is you define your input and then your key here. So this would be just your input. You take your input, you take your key, you binary XOR them together. But then if you apply, so let's say like you XOR this again, and then from here, then you get your result. But the good thing about XOR is if you then go XOR that against the key again, then you get the original input right here. I'm actually not sure how you would do that with the NOR offhand. I'm not sure how you would do it with the NOR gate. Especially since I never did much electrical engineering. We did this as a course of logic tables when I was going through school. For like formal discrete logic. Let me see if anybody actually has a proper explanation of it. It might be you have to go specify that with another combination, because you might be able to take a NOR and not be able to use NOR exactly by itself. You might need to go combine it with another one, because what we have here is we have this right here. So what we need to do is we need to flip 3 of these bits. I did these in like a really crappy way. Hang on. Let me kind of redo these here. I didn't mean to do that. There we go. Let me redo this in a less craptacular way, right? So what we'll have is if we had 0, 0, let's see, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. I'm going to duplicate it this way because I did it kind of weird and out of order the last time. 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. So for this case, our output here is going to be 0, 1, 0, 1, like this. For this one, it's going to be neither or, so it's going to be 1, 0, 0, 0, which is essentially the opposite of an OR gate, right? So if we had an OR gate here, you know what? Why am I doing this so difficult? Hang on. There's a much better way to do this. No, not like that. Not like this. Not like this. There. Hang on. We can do this. We can do this better. It's been a long time since I had to go do truth tables in here. So this would be our XOR output right here, right? So then let's look at what would just be an OR output right here. So OR, this would be 0, 1, 1, 1, like this. So that's how this would be. So now if we do a NOR, which is a not OR, right here, it just inverts this. We go 1, 0, 0, 0. And then just for kind of completeness sake, if we had an AND gate in here, then now this is going to be the 2 inputs here. So our inputs are A and B, right? B. There we go. So for an AND gate, this would be 0, 0, 0, 1, like this. So opposite of our NOR in here. Yeah, I'm just trying to think how you would apply the not OR operation over to try to do something like an XOR. Because the XOR encryption is the only one I can really think about where you go apply the XOR to make that work. I'm double checking something real quick and see if anybody has a quick explanation where I could. I'm trying to think. I don't think this is an irreversible option here. So XOR becomes an operation because if you AND it against it, right? So let's say we had a message of just like 100110001. Let's say we had this message in here for whatever reason. We had this, and then if we go apply like any of these operations to here, so like an AND, we're not going to get it back. But if we XOR this against a key of just like 11111111 right here. So, hey, Nightwing, thanks for coming online, man. So if we then go, let's say like we want to do an XOR this way. What's going to happen is we're going to get a 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, right? And then if we come re-XOR this again against all ones, just as a very basic case, here's what happens. We re-XOR it, and then now we do 0 and 1, so that becomes a 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1. So then what we have in this case is we've come and we've brought the original message back by double XORing it. If you were going to do a NOR gate, the problem is going to look fairly different, because if we come over here, let's start with that same message. So we do 1 0 0 1 1 0 0 1, and then we'll use the same option here where it's just all ones. I know it's a very contrived one, but it's just a very simple example. And if we NOR that right here, what we come up is we get a 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0. So you're not going to go in the XOR way, right? Because it's just going to zero out your message over here. So, actually, hold on. Let's back this up a bit. Let's take this back. Let's look at it from a different perspective. What if we did that instead if we did zeros in here? So what if we did all zeros as the key in here? What's it going to look like? So again, we do our NOR operation in here. So this again, this is still going to come back to zeros, because for a NOR, only time when we have double zeros does it come up. So well, actually this might work. So if we come over here, we're going to have a 0, 1, 1, 0. Wait, hold on. Yeah, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0. I mean, so that does kind of work. However, this is also a contrived example in here. So, I tell you, what if we had a different example, though? Let's bring this back. I'm going to modify this again. So, we're going to have 0, 1. Hang on. We're just going to kind of tinker around with it. We're going to do a little bit of binary-nish. So, what if we change this to like an alternating key? So, we do 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. We come over here like this. Now what happens? We have to remember, it's only going to turn on, we have double zero in here. So this is going to be off, off, on. Let's see. Off, 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 on, off, right? And so for the sake of giggles, let's see what happens if we reapply this. So now if we re-NOR it over here with that same one. So we do 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. Do we get the original value back? This is what we're looking for right here. So in this case, we have double zero, so we get an on. I have to keep double checking. Yeah, double zeros is the only time that it turns on. So off, off, on. Wait, hold on, did I do this right? That is not on. So this is going to be on, off, 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 on, off, off, on. So notice how these two don't match right here. So you're not going to be doing it that straightforward way. I'd say if you're going to be doing a NOR gate, you're going to have to... I don't think it can do it by itself. Unless there's some specific way you have to structure that key value in there. Hang on, let me go check and see what our agent is doing over here. What did we do last? We did our planning. So now we're going to do our checklist. All right. Proceed with the checklist. Let's see. I'm overthinking it. I probably am. Cover both. Standard. Submit. Let me run this real quick. I haven't done NORs or not ORs in a long time. I haven't done a lot of logic gates in a very long time. I'm actually looking forward to when Agent Zero, actually he's probably old enough to start working with them now on it, but I've got like one of those little electronics kits with the springs where you can connect the cables, like the wires with, like, you just pull the spring back and like you have the pre-cut wires and you can build different circuits with it. I'm actually really looking forward to working on that because my knowledge of electronics is really weak. So I'm going to use that as my excuse to buff that knowledge up by working on it with Agent Zero. And in fact, I even had an idea of trying to wire up his four-wheeler with a couple of potentiometers and maybe some, what are they called? Crap, what was the name of that sensor? Hang on, because I was talking to a buddy about it earlier. I told him what I was thinking. Inductive. Yeah, like an inductive sensor for like an inductive tachyometer, so I can register his RPMs, his throttle position, and then a thermal sensor on his exhaust so I can see how much heat he's putting out. So that way we'll know how to tune it a little bit better. And I can see, is the bike having trouble or is Agent Zero holding back on his throttle? That's what I was thinking about. Let's see. Man, now you made me feel really dumb, Throbbing, because I'm like, crap, I really need to go brush up on all my logic gates again. I had to think entirely too hard for that. Granted, I think the last time I did a lot of logic gating was when I was doing a lot of Cisco networking. Because simply for doing like the wildcard subnet mask. Oh man, not sponsored by Jocko yet, which you can't even see because it's green. I have not, Gumby, because the only thing Agent Zero wants to watch right now is Pokemon and how it's made. He freaking loves how it's made, so I figured that's a good one there. But no, the branched ed ones look very cool. Alright, checklist is done. God, can't believe how much I struggled with a logic gate, dude. Let's get that going. So I'm trying to create a hand encryption that first uses the first 36. Is that 36 factorial? And then X NORs and NORs. I mean, I bet you can do it, Throbbing. One of the catches I would say there is probably want to make sure that what you're deriving couldn't be compacted down to something else. And encryption is a very interesting mathematical field. Oh, what's 36 factorial? Gotcha. That's a big number. But going back to that, cryptography is a very interesting field because there's so many ways to go through and break it, especially with the evolution of some of the, which I don't actually fully understand these, let's call them the post-quantum cryptographic functions, the ones that don't require prime factorization and in theory won't be so easily breakable by a quantum processor. Okay. Let's see. So let's do our cross analysis in here. This will be a real quick cleanup then. And then what we'll do is we'll need it to go test the Arachne payload once this is good. Yeah. Man, thinking about factorials again has me going all the way back to when we were doing combinatorics, which I thought was a very interesting field, but I've pretty thoroughly brain dumped that by now because I graduated from college 12 years ago. Closer to 11 years because I graduated in December, but yeah, it's been a minute. Oh, so Branchstead had they had a video on logic gates. Okay, cool. I think I saw, let me see if I can find something real quick. I want to say I saw this a while ago. Let's see. I think it was called the Logic Gate Playground. Is it this one? This is not the one I was thinking of. Let's see. How do you connect to these? Does that connect them? Like that? That's a toggle button. That's LED. Hold on. This was not the one I was thinking of, but it looks really cool. Maybe less cool. For some reason, none of the clicks are working. Yeah, I'll leave this. Let me go back. I mean, there's a ton of these logic gate simulators in here that you can play with. I was trying to, there was one in particular I remember, and it looked really cool. Let's see, so for inputs, what do we have here? It's so tiny. There you go, let's bring you in here. Let's see. I wonder if I can combine these. Let's see. Let's see, gates. Let's do... That's an AND gate. Do I have to AND them individually? I want to do this in an array style. Sequential element. Enable present asynchronous read. Clock. The D. Okay, not also what I was thinking. This is more for like electronic circuitry. I've got 256 factorial written down somewhere. Good God, man. That is a big number. I mean, to put that into perspective, something like 52 factorial, if I remember correctly, is... I believe that is more than the number of atoms in the universe. Uh, 52. If I remember correctly, let's see. Number of atoms in the universe. And the only reason I remember that, again, is from combinatorics. We were talking about number of ways you could shuffle a deck of cards. Okay, so it's not quite the number of estimated atoms in the observable universe. 52 factorial is in the order of 10 to the 67. Kind of estimated value of the number of atoms in the universe is anywhere from between 10 to the 80 or to the 82. I thought it was a lower number in here. It is way larger. It is 17 orders of magnitude more than the number of atoms on the planet. But yeah, it's a huge number. Okay, so what did we just do? We ran the analysis. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's good. That looks fine. Let's see. All right, let's just run the implement. What are you doing here? Forget that. Runs the implementation.
catapulting. There we go. Config correctness MD checklist is incomplete. Yeah, go ahead and proceed, because I think everything it found in the checklist was that. Now, the good news is actually about going through this is if we go through and this absolutely produced shit code, the code is so cheap now we can just back it out if it's not working. So, oh, it's fixing the Arachne YAML. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. This is fine. Everything is fine. We'll see what it does. I mean, part of the whole purpose of this was to just see how far we can push the agents and let them go doing things mostly autonomously. Which is actually why one of the things I've been trying to do a little bit more looking into on is software architecture and design patterns. In fact, I was just watching a video earlier today. Well, watching it, I was actually listening to it while I was in the shower. From Theo, and he was talking about a lot of times the error that he sees with degrading code bases is you'll have a pattern, like a recognizable pattern that's established, and it's reused a lot in the code base, and it worked for those situations. But because that pattern already exists, a lot of developers feel that they have to continue that pattern, even though a separate pattern would work better for some new expanded feature, right? And the AI agents fall into that same category, because what they will do is they will look at the existing code and they will duplicate those same patterns and run into the kind of the same pitfalls. Or they might just not think about it critically and pick a pattern from whatever probabilistic means they're using to determine it that doesn't work well in that situation. All right. It looks like it did it. I want to go back and read through the agent's log here, because it mentioned it was throwing an error when it was loading the YAML file. So all these plugins are actually defined as YAML configurations in here. So there's 3 that are built in this built-ins directory, which is we have Apollo, Arachne, and Poseidon. Okay, so that was a simple update because all it was doing was updating the YAML file in here. All right, so we're going to want to go double check the sample in there and make sure the sample actually has a complete coverage of it. All right, so here we go. It said the metadata key triggers a warning but doesn't break anything. The model uses extra allow. The Apollo branch, that was 007 bond. Actually, Apollo. He doesn't have a last name. It's just Apollo. It's like Mario. Anyway, that branch adds metadata to the model, which will suppress the warning when merged, and that's expected. Okay. All right, let's double check that. Let's go ahead and commit this. Actually, before we commit it, let's just say, let's see. Was the Arachne integration test updated? Let's double check that real quick. Made a hen cipher once before I learned about the different logic gates. Yeah. I did that as a kid too. I think it's something that every kid really, if they get sufficiently bored, will start playing with. And of course, that was just me reinventing the Caesar cipher. So the missing are CD and execute assembly. Not tested, that's a Windows and ASPX only. Okay. CD is not a Windows only command. No. Oh, is it a Windows only command? Wild. Okay. Well, that's good then. We don't have to worry about that. Yeah. Actually, let's do that. Add them and comment out the entries for Windows Target. That's a good idea. Because once this is all kind of cleaned up and done, I want to start taking a look at some of the agent structures that we've got, and then where we want to take them and how we can extract them. Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and commit this real quick. I'm surprised that very little operation actually used so much of the context. It's kind of wild. Because this was not a ton of data that it had to churn. It wasn't like when we were implementing everything for Poseidon yesterday. So one of the things you'll come across if you do that kind of random scrambling of the ASCII table, let me ask you, was it matching again, like you were taking the original ASCII table, scrambling it to like what the output should be in there, and were you doing it 1-to-1 in there? Or what was it doing when you were talking about it was using like that 256 factorial value in there? Because that's where cryptography also comes into things like repetition analysis. All right, let's do something here. Let me copy that real quick. So let's copy. Oh, you know what I need? Actually, hold on. I gotta go check something over in the GitHub real fast. Because I just realized something that might be happening in here. So let's go to source. No, this is not. We want to go to test. Test integration. Okay, good. So none of the backup config files are actually being added to this. I just want to double check in here. Actually, hang on. What is going on here? Something's not right. We should actually have 3 different config samples in here. This is Apollo, this is Arachne, this is Poseidon. We should have had different examples in here. Hold on, let me come back. Huh, why did that not get updated? Okay, that's wild. Did I not commit that? Oh, that's bogus. So what should have happened is we have the sample config file for testing these parts. However, these should have been 3 separate ones in here. Okay, I just realized that's what's going on here. Oh, that's bogus. Let's see. Crap. What was that file called? That was our sample YAML. All right, break out the integration test config sample YAML into 3 files, 1 for each agent. Ensure these are not covered by the git ignore. I think that's what happened. Because what I was looking at here, right, is we've got them here. They're on disk, but they're not up in the repo. Oh, wait, you know what? Hold on. Check that. They're already on disk, but not committed to disk. They're already on disk, but they are not committed to GitHub. Make sure they're committed. We want those config files in here. Because I forgot, we already had them. I just don't know why, for some reason, these ones did not get updated correctly. I didn't know about that when I was 7. Dude, I was not doing factorials when I was 7. That's for damn sure. But yeah, so like that's where something like frequency analysis is like, okay, cool. So in English, we know that the letter E, I think it appears the most. So it's like, okay, cool. What letter appears the most? Okay, so that's an E now. And then from there, you can start kind of trickling and decomposing that scramble. But yeah, and cryptography is such a cool field. It's so easy to screw it up too. Hang on one second, guys. Let me double check something real quick. Okay. Sorry, I had a message come in that I needed to address real fast. All right, so config Arachne, Sample, Apollo, and Poseidon are untracked. Okay, yeah, add those so we can track them. Because that was the biggest help, because I don't want to have to go and re-edit the configuration file and comment out a bunch of crap every time that happens. All right, so let's go look at the config. Let me look at the Arachne config here. Oh, those are the Windows only commands. That's good. We've got these ones up here. Okay, excellent. Excellent. All right. I'm going to be extra lazy. I'm just going to have the agent do this. Maybe. Hold on. Let me do something real quick. Let me head. I think it's config YAML back. I think that's the one that has the current information in there. Yeah, that's the one that's got it, I believe. Okay. Use. Actually, here's a cool thing you can do, believe it or not. So in Claude Code, one of the fun things that you can do, you can put an @ symbol in here, and then you can actually drive to like where you want it to go with it. So in this case, we want to go to test, integration, and then this would be config. What's our current config? I think it's just config.yaml in here. What one did I just check? Config YAML back. That's the one. And then once you do this, then it knows to like register that particular one. Let's see. Authentication, settings, and copy the Arachne sample to config YAML so we can, for testing. I'll just have it do it for me. I don't feel like going to try and bin that out. Pavlov's taken over certain of the bang commands with a counter. I know, right? Let's see. So, okay, good. So it copied the Arachne to config YAML, and then now it is... So actually, let's look at what it did here, because this is kind of just saving me some trouble. Copied this over. It looks like it already had the 10.5.10.7.4.4.3. That's good. But now I also need to actually go modify that, because we're going to need to tell it what the test payload is to do this. Yeah, like this part right here. So this is not correct. This needs to be changed. That's going to be HTTP. That's going to be on 80. And then our testing callback. What callback is that going to be? We'll have it test Arachne through Arachne. So test callback is going to be 40. There. So this will be interesting to see how it does this. Ooh. I'll be really interested to see how it does this, because this is a web shell. It works very differently. So let's clear this. Run the integration test. Integration test agent. There we go. We'll let it do that for a second. My second hand cipher was the one based on the East Germany cipher, the Granite cipher. Oh, cool. Question now with the Claude coding. Do you think BSD and Linux, the Unixes, will get any competition like Windows was based on DOS, but Unix and DOS have so many problems? Wait, hold on. I gotta reread that. Do you think BSD and Linux, the Unixes, will get any competition like Windows was based on DOS, but Unix stuff? I don't know what you're asking, Throppy. Can you rephrase the question? Because I think I know what you're asking, but I'd rather ask for clarification first. Ah, here we go. So this is what I was expecting. I was expecting it to fall on its face here anyway. Let me hit Control O. I want to see what actually came up in here. So past were clean up payload, test, deactivate callback. Okay. I think we're good there. Yeah, Linux and BXD were Unix-based, and Windows was DOS-based, but do you think there will ever be another primal OS? I don't know, man. There's a funny old quote that says, basically, those... Freaking ads. All right, we'll get to it in a sec. I got you, man. One sec. All right, let me see here. Must include the web shell C2 profile. Fix. We need to update config YAML to include the web shell C2 profile for the Arachne agent. Yes, fix it. You can base it on the web shell profile, because we already built one. We can let it use that as a basis. Test box 1. That's the one we want. There we go. Back. All right, very cool. There we go. Okay. So your question was, are we ever going to find another primal OS? I really highly doubt it. At least not one that I think is very, very popular. I mean, there are other non OSs like that, but even then they're usually based off of Unix, right? The only other one I can think of that wasn't was something like Temple OS, and that's got a very cursed history. Yeah. I really enjoy Linux too. I'm hoping, as maybe a silver lining, that with the giant RAM shortage that's happened now with all of the AI hyperscalers slurping everything up, is that software is actually going to have to become performant again. And not just, oh, we've got all this RAM, what are we going to do with it? Well, now they're talking about shipping laptops with the default back to 8 gigs of RAM, which is really funny because Microsoft had a very heavy push that said, we won't let you use Windows 11 on your laptops if you don't have at least 16 gigs of RAM. Imagine a vibe-coded fork of Temple OS. Oh, God. Oh, God. Man. Hold on. So while this is... Actually, this won't take very long to run, but we'll go look at it anyway. So if anybody not familiar with it, and this amazing lore... Temple OS, formerly the J operating system, Thosalos, and Sparrow OS, is a biblically themed lightweight operating system designed to be the third temple from the Hebrew Bible. It was created by American computer programmer Terry Davis, who developed it alone over the course of a decade after a series of manic episodes that were later described as a revelation from God. Temple OS could be considered as an example of coding as an art form, with the nature of his psychological instability and its influences over the project lending it to comparisons similar to outsider art. So yeah, this guy went and through a series of manic episodes and sheer coding will, went and made his own OS in here. OpenBSD, in my opinion, is the best OS. So I don't know if I ever really used OpenBSD fully and honestly. I will tell you, though, I have several friends who are old, long-time graybeards, and one of them was a huge BSD user back in the day. And the agent didn't actually read the test. It just read run the test. It actually just read the config. Oh, that's funny. Hold on, let me see what it's doing here. There's actually, I think, a problem in how it was working in here, maybe. Maybe not. Okay. Hey, Ford, what's up, man? There's no network stack in Temple OS, I think it was, so it was kind of a non-starter. Yeah. Well, the question is, are we ever going to see another, like, primal operating system come up again? And I'm trying to think in, like, what scenario that might happen. I can't really think of one. At least not one that would gain wide adoption. If there was a very purpose-built, hyper-efficient, something like very task-specific operating system that somebody could go build for like one thing and one thing only, you could kind of count that, but I need that level of honesty for my Opus runs. Oh, that's too funny. Well, I mean, the good thing is we can actually go through and verify what it's doing. We can watch it over here in Mythic and actually go see, like, did it actually do this? And look, right here, we see that there's new Arachne test payloads that were generated. Right here, bam. So it is doing stuff. And if we come over to the callback and we pull that up, right here, we see, what time is it? It is currently 9:18. Yeah, we see it doing the file upload to temp test payload. But now what's funny is I think it's trying to run it. And I think it's going to probably say, oh, it failed to call back because I don't think it fully understands how it actually works. This is why I was very curious. I'm specifically not giving it a ton of information because I'm testing the model out to see what are you going to do whenever you don't have the full picture and how badly you're going to lie to me. Are you going to lie to me real bad or just kind of bad? Will the lies be okay or the lies be really booed? I want an OS that doesn't waste a single bit from the OS level out to the GUI level. Dude, I mean, the hard part is operating systems are meant to be accommodating to a large number of people, right? So to get that kind of hyper efficiency, it would have to be customized for what you're doing specifically. And then trying to change something in it means a drastic change. So they're built to be more or less frameworks around other things. If you really think about it at the deep level of what's coming through it. Really, for the most part, Linux is like just the kernel. And then everything else is bolted onto that, except for Systemd. Systemd is the best system for running Linux ever. I screwed up that joke, but I kind of hate Systemd. It just kind of subsumed it. All right, so let's see what happened here. So the remaining failure is a test verify callback, timing out after 120 seconds, waiting for a new Arachne callback. That's expected. Arachne's a web shell agent. Oh, okay. Actually, this is really cool. I purposely did not tell it any information about what the callback process is for Arachne. I wanted to see what it did. So it said this was expected for the callback timeout. Arachne is a web shell agent, not a traditional callback. The payload was uploaded and executed via shell. Okay, which is completely asinine. It should not do that. That's all right. I wanted to see what it did. But a web shell doesn't phone home to create a new callback the way Apollo would. Web shell needs to be linked from another callback or connected via the web shell C2 profile. So it's close. It's kind of getting the idea. This is actually really pretty halfway decent information. It's not quite there. But again, we're used to seeing that with AI agents. And like I said, I purposely didn't give it all the information because I wanted to see what it would do. So that's a fundamental difference in how web shell agents work versus traditional agents. The test pipeline was generate, upload, execute, wait for callback. Doesn't fit the web shell model. The callback verification test needs to be adapted for Arachne, or the test should use the pre-existing callback 42 directly for executing commands instead of waiting for a new one. Okay, let's see. We need to adapt it. Adapt this when Arachne payloads are generated. A new callback will be established, but it is not active until the check-in command is sent. Notice we have callbacks. What two were those numbers? We had 54 and 55. So 54 and 55, but they have no information. Those callbacks are placeholders that will send commands to the web shell as they are submitted. So we will need to capture the callback ID generated when the web shell payload is created. Is created, upload the new payload. Payload to, let's see, bar trip dubs HTML on the test callback host. Then submit a check-in command from the newly created callback. Actually, we'll say from the callback generated. Created at payload generation. Let's see what it does with that. I just watched the XC Vuln from last year for Yay Systemd. Was that the one that Veritasium put out? Because I haven't watched all of it. I was fairly familiar with the story already. I was curious what his take on it was going to be, but I just haven't taken the time. He puts out pretty long form videos. I do like his videos. Daxa, what's up, man? Happy Sunday, or Monday, depending on your time zone. Welcome in. Cool. So this was a good test because, like I said, I'm purposefully not telling Claude Code everything. I'm leaving it room to interpret, and I want to see how much does it ask, how much does it assume, and how much does it just BS me. And so far, it's doing a decent job. And we are currently running on Opus 4.6 in here. Tigro, hey man, what is up? And Crazy ATR, thank you for coming online. I'm so glad I found that better modem sound. The last one was very long, even though I liked it. I do like that little bit shorter one. It's giving all the BS. It probably is, man. Cool, so it's like, I don't know if it's actually checking that. So here's what happens, right? So when we go through it and these payloads for Arachne get created, we get this pseudo callback up here. That's what 40 was, but now that we've actually been talking on 40, we've gotten all the metadata back and it's been populated in here. However, we have 2 more Arachne payloads that were created, and each of them created these pseudo ones just like this. Oh, that was Poseidon, okay. Anyway, so as these come back, right, when you hit generate on that payload, right, I go through this entire process here. Yeah, we'll do that. Yep. All right, so as soon as I hit create payload, bam, it's going to pop up a thing up here that says new callback registered, which would normally mean we've had some kind of code execution on a system and it's now calling home and it is live. However, for the web shells, that's not the case, and I purposely did not tell the agent that because I wanted to see what it would do. I wanted to see how badly it could lie to me. Lie to me, Claudicus. I dare you. Okay, cool. So it did some exploration. Took our explanation in there. Did a little bit explanation, exploration, expiation, and now it's going to do some extrapolation. Hey, Cyborg, thanks for coming online, man. Welcome in. All right, let's see. All right, so for the web shell upload path, should the file match the URL in the web shell C2 profile? Or should we use a different file name like Arachne test payload? Let's have a match. So what it's saying is, hey, do we always want to put it up to like test payload or whatever? Do we want to do this? Like, let's just say if we call it evil ASPX, let's just upload it to evil ASPX. Excellent. I need to do one more test on it, something I haven't done. I think we've got a meta tool in there for deleting payloads. If not, we need to add one because I have all these testing payloads in here from when we were testing we're doing the original design of the integration test. There's like 52 payloads in here. I needed to get rid of all these. All these ones like Apollo test, Poseidon test, Arachne test. I'm going to tell it, find everything with _test_ in the payload name and nuke it. That'll be a good MCP test. Deep dive into XZ utils backdoor. We did one 44 on stream, like when it was blowing up, we went through it. And the TLDR for that, guys, is a 3-year campaign that could have completely breached the entire internet based on one poor sole maintainer of a very small utility called XZ. Basically got beat down and not really kind of social engineered, but for lack of a better term, did. And handed off the project to a malicious actor who had been working on it for 3 years and kind of browbeat and berated this poor maintainer. Once he took it over, they put a backdoor into it where they could have basically SSH'd it to any computer on the planet that had run this system. And it was a very clever backdoor too. However, one sole autistic developer at Microsoft was working on making this one program he was working on hyper efficient. He noticed, I want to say it was a 500 millisecond difference in login times because the XC backdoor was on that test system of his and it wasn't previously. He had updated it, it had been integrated in, and he noticed a 500 millisecond difference. Something you and I would it'd be completely imperceivable, right? But he was so focused on making it as hyper efficient as possible. He noticed this and started digging, found the backdoor, raised the alert, bam, it got killed. Can you imagine? That is the power of weaponized autism. One autistic developer comes through and is pissed off about a 500 millisecond delay and completely unravels 3 years of your hard work to backdoor the entire internet. Did that not play? What is going on? Oh, man. Gumby, I apologize because I accidentally. I did not turn on speaker bot. Hang on. So the question was, what did the daddy tomato say to the baby tomato? He said ketchup. But why didn't that play? That's gonna kill me. Ketchup. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Now it's back up. My apologies, Gumby. I thought I had SpeakerBot already on to play that. That's the joke from, God, what was that? It was the Quentin Tarantino movie. I did break it, my bad. There's a 5th percent encryption method? I've never heard of that, man. All right, yeah, go ahead and clear the context and run that. Fortunately, how many of those have been found by the hyper-artistic programmers? I mean, I'm not sure. The idea, though, was that if a particular, I believe it was particular public key, or there was something in the login process, and because it had to divert to check for that, it was them. No, that was not from Dusk Till Dawn. No. Quentin Tarantino movies. I was thinking Kill Bill, but that wasn't it. It was Pulp Fiction. That was Marcellus Wallace's girlfriend. That was her one joke in Fox Force 5. Yeah, there we go. If I ever weaponized my autism, I'd have a carrier strike group. If I ever weaponized my autism, I'd have a carrier strike group up my ass in a few hours. That's some high yield autism there. High blast radius there, Ken. Let me check something real quick. What was that? Because I'm trying to remember the exact details. What was the XC backdoor looking for when connecting? So it was implemented in the liblzma one. It would examine the RSA public key module with in values sent by the connecting client. If the value matched a predetermined specified crafted fingerprint, the backdoor would trigger. That's what it was. You made me tea? Awesome. How hot is it? It's hot enough to turn on the lightsabers. Look at that. Sock made me tea in my favorite nerd mug. It's very hot. Thank you. What does Marcellus Wallace look like? What? Does he look like a bitch? That movie had so many great quotable lines. English, motherfucker, do you speak it? Oh, Mr. Jackson. Say what again, Olive? Say what again? I dare you. What ain't no country I ever heard of, Olive? They speak English or what? Damn, I gotta go watch that movie again now. Next time I'm on a late night working binge, I'm gonna put that on in the background. Let's see. If one hacked the world, what could you do? Just sit back and admire the chaos. Daxa, that's about all you could do. Nimply? I'm not sure what Nimply is. Hang on. Do you need to go out? Why do you need to go out every 45 minutes once the sun goes down? Hang on one sec, guys. I gotta go let Peaches out. I don't know what it is. The sun goes down, and all of a sudden, every 45 minutes, I need to put a little, like, GoPro on her so I can check the video to see what the hell she's getting into in the back. She's getting into something in the backyard, but she won't do it when I'm there. She knows I'm watching. I'm watching you. All right, hang on one sec, guys. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Stinky, stinky little doggy. All right. Do you know what they call a quarter pounder and cheese in France? A Royale with cheese. Why? Because of the metric system. Oh, that's right. I was looking at what Nimply gates are. What is this? Logic gate that implements material non-implication logically equivalent to A and not B. Okay. Outputs 1 only with the input A is 1 and B is 0. Otherwise, it outputs as 0. The gate is symbolized by a right-facing arrow. Okay. So that one's fairly straightforward. Here. So for all of our little truthy tables here, let me clear these out. There we go. Beautiful. All right. So this is called, I've never heard of this, a Nimply. Nimply gate. So in this case, you have two inputs, right? You have A and B. And we'll have 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, and 1, 1 here. So this is true. This is basically the equivalent to if you have an A and a not B, like this. So this is an AND right here. So A and not B. So it's going to be outputs a 1 only when A is 1 and B is 0. So let's walk through this real quick. So what would the AND section look like? So for our ANDing operation here, right? This is going to be a 0. Well, actually, hold on. I need to back that up. We need to do the not B first. So first thing let's do is we're going to do not B, which is real simple because it's just going to invert the B column right here. Right? So then if we now do A and not B this way, then we're just going to AND these together. So we're not doing this one. We're looking at A and we're looking at not B. So these are both, so this one would be off and this one would be on. And then here A is off right here because it would be 0, 0 right here. And this would be 1 right here. Boom. So just like that. So only 1 and 0 are going to do that. All right, hang on. I'm still catching up on the chat here. Yeah, that's right. Iris Nano, thanks for coming online. Welcome in. Doing more logic gates. Yeah. Good. I'll get a good refresher on it here. Okay, so let's see what it did here with this test runner. All files compiled. Compile? We're running Python. 142 unit test pass. Okay, run the integration test now. Actually, hold on. Before we do that, let's go look at what's actually in the config YAML real quick for the integration test. So if we come down here. By the way, guys, I am not a developer. I work as a penetration tester and red teamer. I just play a developer on Twitch. And not even a good one. Just gonna be straightforward with you. All right, I think that's good enough. Yeah, run the integration test. Let's see what happens.
RNO Gumby cheered 10 bits and says, test.
Test confirmed. It's amazing what happens when I actually turn on SpeakerBot, and it works. Is the smoke released for Blaise bits or just my cats? Are you talking about the magic smoke? Because I try to never let the magic smoke out. That's what costs money. What keeps me awake nightly is not the software hacks, but what's hidden inside the firmwares. That true, Ty. That very true. Because there's just not a lot of people looking at firmwares. I got a really cool story ready for, excuse me, ready for Wednesday night's news stream. And it was this guy talking, he wrote a very detailed article on X about his entire malware reverse engineering pipeline with his various AI agents. I'm looking forward to that. I only read the intro, and the intro was boss. He basically says before he's even started his talk, he just took a new random sample from some unidentified threat actor, started running the pipeline across it, and then started giving his talk. And so I'm like, okay, that's a pretty boss move. You don't do that without some confidence. So. All right, so what failed? The test command execution. So the Arachne web shell was created and activated successfully, but when issuing a shell command, the agent couldn't connect back to the mythic web shell listener. What? Oh, okay. I think it did its web shell configuration incorrectly. So let's go look at something real quick. So we have 55. Hold on, did it make a new one? I don't see that in here. You know what I want to do? Hang on. I'm going to delete these payloads because I need them to go away. Delete. 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 And delete. So now if we come back over here, I don't see anything happening. So in 40, this was today. What time is it? So the current time is 9:43. So this would have happened very recently. There we go. So at 9:41, it deleted evil ASPX. We have evil ASPX. And then what did it do? It didn't do anything after that. After it did the upload, it just said deuces. Web shell profiles configured to reach. Okay. No. This should not be configured to reach 10.5.10.10. That is absolutely incorrect. Let's see. Where's our web shell in here? Ah, here we go. This should not be 10.5.10.10. This should be 10.5.10.52. Again, type. I thought I installed NetTools, bastard. Oh, it's 10.5.10.51. Okay, so this is just a config error. So this should be 10.5.10.5.1 evil ASPX. Except we really want to change this to PHP. Actually, hold on. Before I do this, I'm going to go ahead and make that change in here. Let's see. So config YAML was modified recently. Config arachne YAML was not. We need to update the... I'm going to point it directly to that file. We're going to say test integration config arachne YAML. Let me ask about this. Mighty fine beard. Ah, thank you. So what's funny is I didn't actually mean to grow the beard. It just kind of happened on accident because I was working a ton of hours at one of my jobs. I basically went from being like, we had essentially like 3 tiers. And when I went, I was a tier 2 penetration tester. And then from there went to tier 3 and then basically like to manager, director of the team because we had a lot of, for lack of a better term, reorganization. A bunch of folks left and they didn't have anybody else working to basically run the team. So I started running the team. And so I was doing all the management tasks. Plus at one point I was doing like 3 penetration tests at once because I could not get a clear picture from the management about how good or bad the team was performing. And I wanted to make sure nobody was going to get fired or anything like that. I didn't know how profitable we were. I could not get a clear income versus revenue, whatever. I could not get a clear picture of it. So I started going through and just working every single job. I didn't turn down a single penetration test. And if everybody was already on one, then I just took it on. So at one point I was running like 3 penetration tests at once and running the team. So I was not sleeping very much. I was probably only sleeping like 4 hours a night. And that was probably split up around 3 hours and then like a 1-hour nap. And that continued on for a while. And so I had a more trim beard and shaving just went completely out the window and it started growing out. And then my second son, Honey Badger, he was real little. He was tiny. He was like not even a year old. And he looks up and he sees my beard and he starts scratching at it and playing with it. I'm like, man, now I can't shave it. So then that's basically when the beard started growing. I kept a really trim beard before that. Now it's just, I let it go. All right, so do we need to do anything else? Okay. What about in the config YAML for the integration test? Actually, never mind. We don't need, I know we don't need to do that. I just need to go back and double check the values in here. So that should be 10, 5, 10, 51. Let's go ahead and change this. We're just going to call this test arachne payload. That. Okay, so now run the integration test agent. Do it. This is still some very hot tea. She boiled the crap out of that.
RNO Gumby cheered 10 bits and says, I just realized the hexadecimal is the name of the sender.
Hexadecimal is the name of the sender? When did that come in? Let's see. Can I be real? If I made the perfect sword, it didn't mean like the BS or like the best sword is your favorite. I mean, true best sword, it would be based on the 1890s British sword and illegal modern fencing grips, like the most modern, bestest ones that I don't think people would recognize. I have no idea. I briefly thought about trying to take up fencing, but I just did not have the time for it. All right, let me go look at something real quick here. So we still have 54 and 55 happening here. I'm going to... Let me do something real quick. So it did create the Arachne payload, but let me look at something in here. Let me look at this payload configuration. Where's our C2 step? Web shell config is... Oh, because, damn it, it's going to HTTPS. Son of a biscuit. There we go. All right. So it looks like it's trying in here. To it. Delete from disk. Remove that one out so I can keep track of what's going on in here. All right. Now, do it again. It needed to be HTTP. Run the agent again. Let's see what happens here. I have more in the queue. Oh, I did have more in the queue.
RNO Gumby cheered 10 bits and says, "Don't shave the beard, Daddy Blaise."
I regret showing you solo leveling abridged. At the same time, that's freaking hilarious. And my buddy who turned me on to solo leveling says he loves it. He really liked the manhwa because it's technically Korean, but it was pretty funny. Your database was too easy. I saw that you were hiring. I saw you were hiring. Right. I love the joke about, hey, why should I hire you when you're like applying for a security job? And it's like, well, I hacked into your email and set up this meeting. Why is it still trying to go to evil.php? Let me see what it did here. Oh, it's because it should not have been that. That's why. I think I see what's happening. All right, so we need to substitute. No, undo. We need to undo. Sub ASPX for PHP globally. There we go. All right, where else did we reference eval? Oh, we didn't. It was just right there. Did I really just not change that? Okay. There we go. No, kill it. I messed up. Run the agent again. There we go. So what's happening here, by the way, guys, if you're wondering, is this agent is doing all the basically doing all the language model calls and running through a task list that we've got for it, and it knows what commands to go run, like running our Python test integration suite. And it's doing it, though, in a hidden context. So it will do its work, it gets all the input, it does its work, and it has a return value. And only the return value actually comes in to our context window of this main window that we're working on. So the agents are really handy in that way because then we can kind of preserve the context. We don't have to compact the conversation and work on other stuff. The voice for the TTS makes it so much worse. I loosely based it off of Cortana. Very loosely. What are you talking about? Why can't you... C2 profile in the URL was configured as evil.php. Hold on. Why is the upload putting it as evil PHP? There was no evil PHP in that document. Hold on. Let's reference it. Let's see. So test integration config YAML. Evil.php. Where's that file name coming from? I don't know why it's doing it. This email, it says I work for you now, right? Oh, you went through a bunch of them. Actually, went through a bunch of the abridged videos. They're so good. They finally started releasing like a compilation of it, and it's so freaking hilarious. I read the comic, but I did not watch the show. Yeah, just had computer. Are we in yet? Okay, so that's where my changes to configure active YAML to test the sample template. It's not in the live config YAML. You've already updated that yourself to the correct values. But I see a mismatch in the config YAML, which was... Yeah, fix that to use PHP. That's probably what was happening in there. I was like, why the hell is it still using evil, though? Yes. Do it. Now, what's crazy is... Okay, actually, we know it just created the payload because we saw a new callback finally come in. 60 over here. I wonder if all those other ones were not coming back because it wasn't able to reach out to the server. I wonder if that's why. Might be learning a little bit more of the Arachne internals here. You want to know something funny? There's historic rapier blade, which was 126 centimeters long. Damn, it's a long sword.
RNO Gumby cheered 10 bits and says, I pooped. Just thought you would like to know, hee hee.
The sound, the voice makes that so much worse. Thank you, Gumby. I feel like my life has improved dramatically with that. New payload was generated and uploaded in this run, but it's possible the upload went to the old path from a cache state. Hold on. Let's go see what happened here. It's uploaded in rm.rf. What the hell? Let me ask it about that. Let's see. Check tasks. I'm going to tell it to reference two tasks in here. Task ID 540 and 543. Wait, it checked in. Look, it's here. Wait a second. Why is it saying that nothing worked? What in goodness gracious is happening in here? Okay, hold on. Let me tell it this. Task 540 and 543. Shut up, baby. I know it. Uploaded, then deleted. Because this is what's happening. Like, I see it upload, test Arachne payload, and then it immediately RMs it. I'm like, why? Hey, good. The buffer overflows crash sound worked. Nice. You guys have no idea how much time I spent on this silly little buffer overflow here. So what happens is when it hits like 500 bits and it counts a subscription as like 500 into it, then it crashes the buffer. I put a disproportionate amount of time in it just because I thought it was funny. Oh, that was a gifted shell from Gumby to Ken. Nice. Oh, I need to turn that alert off. Because I have something to handle that now. Turn those off. Okay. Because they don't need to double up anymore. I've moved most of the alerts off of Twitch now. They're all running locally. Okay, so let me see what happened here. Yeah, okay, this is what I thought was happening. They're running out of order. It's uploading it before it tries to delete it. Okay. Okay, run the integration test agent. Yeah. There we go, we'll let this go now. Nice. All right. By the way, Killa, happy Sunday. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what this particular agent was doing. I'm getting caught. Getting behind on the chat here. Let's see. Yes, Gubby is Supreme Overlord. That's a heavy rapier, dude. Like 2 kilos, damn. I did see Logitech's new mouse. It looks really interesting, but I already have an MX Master mouse, and I really like it. And I'm not playing a lot of competitive shooting games like that anymore, just to be real. Alright, very good. My mouse weighs 72 grams. I honestly don't know how much this one weighs, but it works really well. In fact, I liked it so well, I got a second one for my work computer. All right, so the upload succeeds, but the web shell still returns a 404. Let me verify the file actually exists on disk. Okay, yeah, go ahead and run it. What's it actually trying to run here? It's finally just gave up. It's like, fine, I give up on the MCP server. All right, we're going to have to fix that. Let me see what it was doing here. Yeah, so I see... I don't think the file actually landed on disk. It's a lot of scrambled letters. And like I said, this was part of the reason why I didn't give it a lot of information, because I wanted to see what it's doing. New phone, who dis? Oh, so it's okay. So this is something else we'll have to account for with Arachne. Y'all notice that here over in Arachne, right? If we do something, no matter what, it just says, okay, yeah, it's good. It like very rarely ever fails in here. So, like for example, let me see if I can find a good example of this command in here. Like, well, it still says this one's processing. Let me see. Pkill? Will this work? There's a lot of times in here where like it will no, go away. It will just basically say like it looks like it worked when it didn't. Oh, because this was a run one. Okay, maybe not. What am I thinking of in here? Hold on, it's running as root. There was no permission error with this. Let's see, var tripdub HTML test arachne payload.php. Why? That shouldn't be an issue in here. Yeah, tripdub's data should have plenty of access to that directory. Oh, because they're all owned by root. That's why. I see. I see. Okay. Easy enough. And Gumby gifted more shells. Thank you, brother. Let's see. Bobby, by the way, I'm happy to have you back, man. Let's see. All right, I'm trying to think. Should I... I'm trying to remember, like, in a normal Linux system, would the HTML directory be owned by root, or should this actually be controlled by tripdub's data? I believe they should be owned by tripdub's data. So I'm wondering if I need to chown this. Do I need to chown it? I'm trying to remember what the standard is. Okay, let's just do this. Okay, you want to play it that way? That's fine. Oh, that was that.
Damn it, that was the wrong place to put that. Hang on one second. Let's clear all this out. Make this a little bit bigger for y'all to be able to see this. All right, so what's happening is we're running into a permissions error in here. And then, so I need to remove dir uploads and let's cd to html. And then then here we're going to make the uploads directory, and then we're going to chown script devs data, trip devs data, and that's going to be the uploads directory. So now uploads will now have that. So what we could do is we can access this through uploads. That'd be fine. Another thing we could do is we could actually I think we could use set GID. Really? What I need to do is I'm trying to remember how to set this up correctly. Do we leave this as root, or do we maybe change this like where this HTML directory is going to be root tripdubs data group, and then that group has permission to write to it? I'm trying to remember what the proper permissions should look like in here. We should just ask Claude based on enterprise security standards. I guess we could. I appreciate it, Gumby. Dude, don't feel like you're having to stress yourself out for it. I tell you what, I was avoiding asking Claude directly, but let's just go and do that. So, test server, let's see, var tripdubs HTML directory is owned by root. What would be, let's see. The web shells run as tripdubs data. What should be the correct folder permissions based on industry? I have not set up an Apache server in I don't know how long, nor did I ever set one up for production. I only tried to break them. I never tried to fix them. Normal web server, so I can duplicate them. We'll see what Claudicus has to say about it. Because normally, I think what we do is we would chmod that to 755, and then we would change the owner group to tripdubs data, but leave the owner as root. I think that's the normal way you want to do that. Upload needs to go through a callback that runs as root or has write access, not through tripdubs data web shell. Callback 40 is an Arachne web shell running as tripdubs data, so it can't write there. So you need to upload via privileged callback like Apollo or Poseidon. Yeah, I don't like that. Let's do it differently. Instead, we're going to go with the way I was just talking about. So we've got uploads over in there. So what we'll do is we'll just go change the upload directory. So we'll add an uploads into it in there. So in fact, let's go just double check that real quick. Let me see. Let's cd to uploads, and let's just touch test.txt. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to curl that real quick. That's what echo foobar, and we'll just stick that in test.txt. Foobar. There we go. And then what I'll do is I'm going to come back down here. And then what we'll do is we'll just curl that real quick. We'll just make sure we can get that. So this is going to go to 10, 5, 10, 51. Uploads, test.txt. Foobar. Okay, cool. So that directory is readable from the web server, so that should be good. So then what we'll do now, let's go change the config here. And let's look for PHP. There we go. So this is no longer going to go here. This is going to go to uploads, like that. And in fact, let's search for HTTP. There we go. So this is going to go to uploads. That's the last one in there. Oh, here we go. This is what I was looking for, the upload path. This is going to go to HTML, and then we're going to put this into uploads. There we go. Now we're cooking with propane. Okay, I think it's fixed. Gonna be sending the giant cookie monster. Let's see. Ever tried to hack a blockchain? I very briefly back in the day looked into Solidity and Ethereum blockchains, and it looked really interesting. I'll tell you, however, though, if you really want to get started with that, Iris, is go into GitHub and search for repos that have a Claude MD or an Agents MD file and are also working in Solidity. Those are going to be great places to go look for bugs. Let's see, we're now targeting an uploads directory. Directory owned by TripDubs data. Run the integration test agent again. I think I fixed it. Yeah, a lot of the Web3 stuff looks very interesting. I may go take another look at it, but honestly, actually, one thing I've got going on, I'll show y'all this real quick. Hang on. While this is running, let me pop into OPSEC mode. So I have my private, personal guy right here. So this is Harvey. Harvey is running Daniel Miesler's PAI project in here. And honestly, what I did is I went through and I fed Harvey all the documentation, everything about StreamerBot and a bunch of other stuff. And I've had it helping with a lot of content generation. I'm trying to get back to doing like regular videos on YouTube, and also like the overlay here. This entire overlay was built by Harvey with me testing it, going through and looking at things. So this is one of the things I've been working on to try and help improve the streaming experience, get the TTSQ set up so that way folks like Gumby aren't just spamming it nonstop with the 10-second interrupt sound. But yeah, this is actually where I've been spending a bulk of my time, is working on trying to get the content pipeline up and running more regularly. Getting back to doing like weekly YouTube videos. And then some like quarterly big update videos of like what I'm working on. Let's see. Oh, so what happened here? So the first shell commands all passed. It's now failing on cat. Okay, hold on. Let's go see what happened here. Oh, what the hell was that? So did we make a new Arachne payload? We did. Actually, hold on. Let me look at something in the payload configuration, I think. Let me see. So this should be testing uploads, test Arachne payload PHP. Okay, cool. Let's go verify that it's in there. So there's our test Arachne payload PHP. That's good. This does not tell us what the callback was registered as it, though. So I wonder what callback it was doing that on. Test the runner auto uploads and substitutes at runtime, but it was never implemented. This is a pre-existing issue not related to our web shell changes. Okay. But where was this running at? That's what I needed. I need to know what shell it was actually executing in. Why are we not seeing all the callbacks in here? Let me restore that one. This was callback 62, which I didn't hide. I don't know why 62 is showing hidden in here. Oh, you know what we probably should do? I know how we can fix this. One of the things we can do is in the config, we can have it run the check-in command immediately. Because then once the check-in command comes up, then we'll start seeing it. Okay. Let's go modify that real quick. Let's see. We don't have the check-in command implemented? Let me see here. All right, so what happened is we had a replace with file ID placeholder. It's passed literally as the file parameter, caused the upload to fail, affects the agent. Want me to implement this logic, or is this a separate task? Let me go look at that real quick. How do we handle this in the other situations? Hold on, let me bust out of this. Let me look at the Apollo YAML. So where did we test the upload here? Oh yeah, we do have that. Let's see. Let me think about this. How do I want to attack this? Because it's looking a little bit funkier now. I thought we were going to have this done in like an hour. I didn't think Arachne was going to be this big of a pain. But also, this is part of the testing process. So the YAML config contains the test runner auto-uploads substitutes at runtime, but it was never implemented. So this is a pre-existing issue not related to our web shell changes. The replace with file ID placeholder is passed literally as the file parameter. So let's go double check that. Yeah, right there. Boop, boop. So let me check one more thing. Actually, let's come over to yeah, this is in here for, look at this. So we did have that in here. Why was this working here for the uploads for the Apollo one? Let's see. Okay, I guess implement it. Let this go real quick. This will be cool though once this is running. I do need to go actually check something real quick. While this is doing its thing, let me pull up. Let me pull up something real fast here. Let's get rid of that. Where's PyCharm? Give me a PyCharm. Because what I want to do is go run. Ah, damn it. It's having to check all the caches. Because we haven't run PyCharm in a while because we've been working on this MCP server for a couple weeks. Let's see. Another change. Actually, hold on. Did we implement the check-in command
for Arachne. I don't know if that is actually if that's a meta command or if it's specific to Arachne. Let me look at this one real quick. Yeah, that's a specific command for Arachne. Because we did have callback here executing and operating, but like none of the information was coming back in here. Look at the Mythic task log. The check-in task both failed. Arachne likely doesn't expose check-in as a user issuable command. It's an internal RPC that happens automatically when the C2 server reaches the web shell. Because I don't see that happening. Oh, actually, you know what? Let me try something quick. I'm going to do something here. If I just run an ls command, we get it, but like nothing's coming in. And then if I do a check-in here, now it's coming back with all the appropriate data. Let me tell it to check task 559. Check task 559. I ran the check-in command. Is this part of Arachne? Because I need to know what this is doing, because it's going to help visually recognize what's going on up here when it actually is coming through and executing these commands. Okay, this is up now. Let me see if I can run. You're gonna make me have to go through the entire song and dance again, aren't you? Stop. Let me see if I can get into this real quick. What did I have to do here? Damn it. There was something I had to do with this. What was that advanced header I had to set? Brave shields are off. Why is it doing that? I can't remember. I haven't had to connect over to the Langsmith studio in so long. $10.5, that should be good. Localhost. Loud domain. 10.5.10.10. I think I might have to do it like this, maybe? Save. Why is it doing this?
They added some extra Coors testing in here. That should have been allowed in here. It's explicitly allowed and it should be implicitly allowed. Do I need to change it this way? Food bar. Why aren't you gonna let me try this? Do it again. Ah, frickin' Langsmith. Something else to go troubleshoot now. Check-in's a native Arachne command defined in check-in. It gathers it. Earlier failures were because the web shell file wasn't deployed when the check-in was issued. Your manual run task. So we should re-add the call check-in, but it needs to be run after the payload upload, not before. Yes. Yeah, add it back in. There we go. All right. Because without that check-in command, we don't get any of this metadata saying like, hey, what box it's on, what the user is, the process ID, anything like that. So we do need that. Looks like it took it out erroneously. What are these errors we got here? Just resolve those, get rid of them. Okay. Runs the integration test agents again. Und yes, it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be fantastic. Fantastic. Let's see what we've got going on here. Hopefully this time it's going to work. Actually, it did work. So it looks like it generated the payload, dropped it up there. It's a real fast payload to generate. Nice. Nice. It's happening. Excellent.
RNO Gumby cheered 10 bits and says, just kill it and restart. We need to stretch this out as long as possible, hee hee.
Just kill it and restart. All right. Excellent. Great. So now I'm going to go ahead and commit this. And then what I'm going to have it do is let me double check something up in the GitHub real fast. Freaking studio. This is gonna bug the crap out of me. I forget what I needed to. That should have been run with the tunnel flag. Was it not?
Hello, IT. Have you tried turning it off and on again?
So many times. So many times. Oh, wait, this was XPN. So hold on, where is it? Oh, we haven't pushed this branch up yet. Let me go. Let me just push this up. Oh, it's gonna fail because it's like, hey, you gotta do this. Yeah, I know. Let's see. Just push it to get up so I want to take a look at something in there. I'll let it do it for me automatically. I'm an idiot. I've been sitting here wondering, like, man, the chat is really quiet. And then as I'm sitting here, I realized I had scrolled the window and, like, I had been missing messages for a while now. So I'm like completely missing stuff in here. I used to say, have you tried turning it off and on again, and no one ever noticed? Oh. Freaking love that. There we go. All my lightsabers turned off. The tea is cooled off quite a bit. I didn't tell you to... Wait. Don't tell me you put a PR in for this already, because that is not what I wanted. Okay, cool. So we do have the Apollo, Arachne, and Poseidon ones. Excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Very good. Very good. Fantastic. Das ist fantastisch. Fantastisch. All right. Was there anything else I need to work on this before we do this? Let me think. Yes, it is tea time. So this is one particular type of tea that Sock gets for me because she's worried I'm going to just BTFO my health. It's called Burnout Blocker. I forget who it's by. I think it's Republic of Tea. She's the in-house tea aficionado. Republic of Tea Burnout Blocker. I believe it's from them. Yeah, here it is. And it's a pretty good. It's a black tea, and it's got a couple different herbs and also has extracts from chaga and cordyceps. So I do think it actually helps. But it's just something that I like to use at nighttime when I want something to drink that's not coffee, and I've already had my Jacko. Have you tried turning it on and off? Oh gosh, I didn't even notice it. Turn it on, then turn it back off. If it's not running, you can't have any problems with it, right? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and merge it. Okay, nah, go ahead and we'll let it do it. Commit, push PR. Even though it's already been committed, we can just have it do it. Dude, there's a lot of really cool compounds you can get out of mushrooms. In fact, I briefly dabbled with doing my own mushroom extracts for things like, particularly lion's mane. Lion's mane is a really good one. It helps, I think it helps boost BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factor in your brain. And unfortunately, I just did not have enough material, and because you can do a double kind of extraction from it. You can do a hot water one and you can do an alcohol one. So what you do is you do the alcohol one first, then you filter it out. You filter out all the solids. Unfortunately, it's just a very long process. And it was powdered mushroom. And so you're trying to work with that and it just turns into mud. It's like just trying to filter out mud. All right, so what did we commit for this? We had 3 commits. Files changed 25. A lot of those are in the spec. I don't care about the spec. I'm mostly just leaving them in for posterity. Let's see. I think actually we need to do one more modification to this because the C2 profile is going to change. So let's go make one more change to this. So it's the Arachne sample config. need some updates to work properly. Check the current config YAML for things like the C2 profile information. That's gonna be a no for me, dog. Dude, mushrooms are amazing. Not those kind of mushrooms. I'm talking about the perfectly legit kind. Now, I don't go off. I used to eat mushrooms, but apparently there's just a lot of fiber to them, essentially. A lot of cellulose material. So I don't really eat mushrooms very much anymore, but mushroom extracts are the bomb. Get me some good old lion's mane. I can do mushrooms on pizza, but that's about as far as I can go. Mushrooms on pizza are still really awesome. Okay. So. So if we can, actually, I want to see something real quick because I'm still learning about some of the interactions to GitHub. So currently, let me go back here. Currently, it's showing our last commit for this one to merge this branch was at 40E B82C. So B82C is the last one. So commit and push it, because I'm curious if this will go reference this new commit, or do we need to update the PR? So a lot of people are like, hey, you know, I really want to get some of the benefits of the compounds in mushrooms. So they eat a lot of the mushrooms. Unfortunately, that's not the most efficient way to get those compounds out of the mushroom. Usually it is doing something like an extract. So what is this doing? Oh, it's doing the commit message. Okay. And so unfortunately, a lot of those compounds, they are locked away inside of the mushroom's like cellular structure, which I believe, don't quote me on this, I believe it's basically locked into like a kind of cellulose that's in there. So what you do is you would do something like an alcohol extract, which helps break down everything and get those compounds out of the physical cellular structure to where you can actually get to them and have them bioavailable. You can also do a hot water extract. So typically you do one and then the other. I think if I remember correctly, you start with the alcohol extract and then you move to the hot water extract. And like this was a couple years ago. I was tinkering around with this. But yeah, because the extracts are hella expensive. Okay, we need to update. It said PR6 is updated? No. Was it? Let me see. Was this updated though? Was PR6 updated? Hold on. I didn't think it was. Well, what was this commit we just did? Oh, actually, it was. I was reading. I'm an idiot. I was reading the top of the list instead of the bottom. So, yeah, this was now. We just did commit DEE1, and that is in here. Okay. What happened to Claude MD? What was changed in that?
Let me see what it does here, actually. I'm curious. Are those private comments? They would be visible if the MCP server was public. I haven't made it public yet. I will eventually. So now it's going to say we have some resolutions they're going to have. It's going to auto-resolve the conflicts. Okay, good luck with that. That's fine, because then what I want to do is I want to pull down the master branch and have it go through and create a master configuration to do integration test against all three. Oh, I don't think we... Damn it. You know what I just realized? I don't think we ever pulled down the code when we were working on it. I think that was the issue. Yeah. No, it's because I didn't want anybody to come across it and start basically ripping it up before it was actually up and functional. I'll probably get ready to make it public here soon. Since it seems to be, we've got the integration tests working, everything's going. I'll probably just put a giant disclaimer. By the way, this was 100% vibe coded, so your mileage may vary. Aw, I'm out of tea. Sad. But a lot of this, I think, is where things are going to... I know the code, especially people who are like very, very good developers. I keep hearing them tell me that, hey, the code that this is putting out is not fantabulous. I was like, I get that. I don't necessarily need hyper efficient code. I need code that's going to work. And also, this is not probably going to get worse over time. So as we were talking about last night, what I kind of expect is going to happen is there's going to be a bigger shift towards software architecture and like very detailed architecture, but guiding the agents through that rather than just saying, you know, go clone this big SaaS, make no mistakes. I don't think we're ever going to get to that point because there's going to be too many design decisions that's not going to make it helpful. However, now the future, a lot of people are talking about is that a lot of the online stuff isn't going to be for humans, it's going to be for bots. And I was like, yay, dead internet theory confirmed. All right, so right now what it's doing is it's resolving the merge conflicts because I think we did some work on main and didn't properly sync the code. So it's having to go through and fix it. Because we had some massive updates to Apollo and Poseidon, and I don't think they were properly reflected in here. I also see private test suites becoming more of a thing. You're talking about like people are going to open source their code backs, but they're not going to open source the test suite? I hadn't thought about that. That's a very interesting theory. I do know that a lot of open source, like large open source projects, they are switching from allowing public PRs to invite only PR submissions. So you have to be added to it. I did hear about Cloudflare forking Next.js and basically recreating it in a day. I don't know what the impetus was for that decision, but I did hear about it. It was the same thing with Claude's barely working C compiler. The funniest comment about that, whenever they released that, was somebody literally just posted, "It won't compile Hello World." Now, what's extra funny about that is, at the same time, it seems like right now, I don't know why I keep coming back to this, but it seems like there's always these kind of like double distributions of people. I keep running across this as like a recurring pattern in life, where what you've got, like for the continuum of people, is there's a huge group here, there's not a lot in the middle, and there's a huge group here. And so this group is basically the doomers. Actually, let's call this the dummers. No, we'll call it the doomers, right? So this is the doomers over here, basically saying that AI sucks. Bad AI. It's trash, it's horrible, don't trust it, it's never going to be great. And then over here, you have doomers again. Yeah, you got two different types of doomers in here. Good AI, right here. Everything AI is awesome. Everything is fantastic. And it's going to be so good, it's going to completely collapse the economy. So these are the people saying, stop wasting your tokens. These are the people saying, I'm going to keep burning tokens until basically the entire world burns down. It seems like, and there's just all these other people here just sitting in the middle that don't really exist, right? And most of humanity is actually kind of just over here. They're just like, what the hell is going on? These people are like, I don't know. IDK. I don't know what's happening. And the people over here are probably just like, Claude all the things. I can't write. I'm so tired. I was tired before the start of the stream. $157 tests passed. Now push and merge. Okay. I think what I want to do here is let's go ahead and pull down the. Let's tell it. Make sure we're properly synced to GitHub. To GitHub, then switch to the master branch. I would like to say Dreamers, Rabbit, but at the same time, it's more like it's different Doom, right? It's people over here saying the AI is never going to advance and people are always going to be the epitome of stuff. And then there's the Doomers over here saying the AI is going to get so good it's going to wipe out humanity. And then there's just kind of, I think this is me right here. I'm right there. Maybe kind of moving this way a little bit, like things are getting really good, and I kind of worry about the future of humanity. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't think it's horrendous. I don't think it is. What's funny is I kind of subconsciously wrote this as boomers. But yeah, I'm kind of just hanging out here in the middle and trying to understand everything that's happening with it. And I think one of the most important things to realize is that these things are probably not going to get worse over time. They're probably going to improve and get better. The boobs theory. That's right. Fully synced the origin. 14 commits pulled, including the branch merges. So that's what happened is we did not... We were doing the PR... I know what happened. We were doing the PRs over on GitHub. And so when we did that, it was working off the master branch, but the master branch was behind because of that. Okay. We need to do a full integration test. Create another sample config that is a collection of all three samples. Band, hey dude, I was just thinking about you. I was wondering how you're doing.
I think it'll always get better and improve, but I do think there'll be a point where there'll be diminishing returns. I think so too. I think there's going to be a limit to how far they can push LLMs, and the way I foresee this kind of coming to fruition is that right now we're kind of like going up this curve, right? And we're currently in like the age of language models, and then there's going to be kind of like this flattening out. So this is where we're at with LLMs, but they're already working on like what the next type of model is going to be. There's lots of theoretical work coming. LLMs is basically going to flatten out, but then there will be another neural network type model, another tensor generator that's then going to allow it to come up to it. So the question is, what's that next kind of step going to be in here? So LLMs will eventually kind of reach their pinnacle of what they can do and how far they can go. And then there will be something to kind of take its place. That's kind of where I foresee it going. Step 1, steel underpants. That is always a proper step 1. Yes. Us in the middle need to stick together and keep each other out of hold on. The message didn't come through. Basically stay in the valleys. Okay. No. So the first step is you steal underpants. The second step then occurs. And the third step is profit. Yeah, stay off the peaks. I'm firmly in that. So, I mean, I'm firmly working right here in this. I don't think the AI is going to ever crash. There will probably be some small bubble pop that's going to happen, but I don't think it's going to be a full implosion. And also, I don't think humanity just as a species...
Oh, shit, I can't hear you. Sound off like you got a pair.
You're full of crap, Kayla. I don't think humanity as a species is going to allow doomer mode to happen, where we basically have some kind of like neo-feudalism and everything is kind of controlled by a small mass of folks. Compacting the conversation, you jerk. The bubble pops, we buy low. That's right. I'm kind of hoping that I can pick up some sick hardware when the bubble pops. That's what my hope is. Actually, those SXM2 cards, I'm very curious about those. I need to spend a little bit of time. Maybe I'll do it Tuesday night. I think tomorrow night is going to be some spend time with Sock and recover time. But I still have that crypto mining rig that I acquired. And I had those 6 1080 Ti cards that I need to throw in there. And I just want to see and benchmark it. We'll probably do that on stream. Once I get up to it and I can get remote access, then we can do that. In fact, I just bought a new Wi-Fi 6 dongle for it. So that way I can get like full speed over to it. Because trying to get it like over 2.4 gigs to download some of those models would probably just make me cry blood. What do you mean? I wasn't mining anything. It's just a crypto rig that I acquired, and it's got Dogecoin. Although, I'll tell you a funny story. One of my old coworkers was theoretically a Dogecoin millionaire. However, I don't know if he ever was able to fully, like, sell it to make that. Basically, yeah, it's like now I wasn't planning on running Olama. I think I'm going to be running... I gotta go double check my notes because there was the way some of it offloads into it. Hold on, let me run this real quick. The idea will be you're gonna have 6 cards in there, right? Let me just clear all of this out. Get rid of that. Okay, so the idea is we will have basically 6 cards in here, right? So we'll have this one. And then we'll just duplicate this out. So that's card 1. And then we'll have 2, 3. There we go. There's 6. Okay, so we're going to have 6 cards in here. Each one of them is going to have a pool of VRAM in it, right? So the problem is the connections down to the motherboard here, right? So those motherboard connections are only going to be PCI 1. well, PCIe 1. They're going to have a single PCIe lane. So not a ton of back and forth. However, what we can do is all these memories could get pooled together. So each one of these is 11 gigabytes of VRAM, right? So what we can do is we can take these cards and we can spread out certain layers of the model. So just for easy numbers, let's say layers 0 through 7 are going to be on this card. And then layers 8 through, 12 are going to be on this card. I'm just making up numbers here. So let's say 13 through 18 are going to be on this one. And then we'll have 19 through 22 here. Whatever. Eventually, you're going to come to where you've got some in to like the last n layer in here. So what will happen is when we run the inference, there will be a little bit of data transfer between these, right? Because it's going to have to take this, pass it down that PCI bus, and then pop it up to the next one, run the computation, and then send it like here. This would really suck if you were doing batch jobs. However, we're not going to be doing batch jobs. We're going to be doing individual jobs as they go through the line here. So this is what's happening. And Olama, I think, does an okay job of it, but I think it's VLLM that does a better job of doing like this tensor parallelization in here. I had to go double check. This is my current working understanding. Do not take it as gospel. You were not supposed to stop pushing things. Hold on. So where's our config all? Okay. So let me look at something real quick. Config sample, config all. Both of those were modified. Oh, config sample was done there. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Let me just do this. Copy config. Hold on. I want to kick this off before it's about time to wrap up the stream, but let's go ahead and get this off. Copy config YAML to config.yaml and populate the configuration values from the I need to do that. Actually, hold on. Backup config YAML. Copy config all YAML to config YAML. There we go. And populate the configuration values from the backup. We can run the full suite. Do not run it. Just prep it. There we go. I kind of feel like the prices are never going to go back to where they were, though. Maybe inflation will cool, but this is now the new normal for computer hardware. Oh, man, I really freaking hope not, Bobby. Something has to give. And typically the cure for high prices, Bobby, is high prices. Because there's going to be demand for it. We needed AI to make Blaise's handwriting legible. Now, listen here, you little shit. My handwriting is immaculate. Especially when I'm doing it with the mouse. If I could figure out how I wanted to set up the iPad again, I could, in theory, do that. But my handwriting on the iPad wasn't that bad. And trim the beard. I have a price for the beard, Rabbit. If you want to know the price, it is, let's see. The beard started growing when, technically, it's really started growing when Honey Badger was born. Honey Badger is now 4 years old. So the current going price is 4 years' salary. So, yeah. That's the current going price. Everybody has a price, Gumpy. Everyone has a price. And that price only increases with each birthday that Honey Badger has. The price is 1 mil. I really appreciate you thinking that highly of me that I make that much money. No, I actually took about a 35% pay cut whenever I moved from my last company to my current company. It was largely offset by a lot of the benefits package, but I still did take a pay cut when I came to my current company. However, I still don't make chump change. However, I spend a lot of money. Let's see. New config YAML. Mythic server is 10.5.10.10. Apollo C2 callback host. Okay, we need to go change that because that should not be HTTPS. Arachne would be uploads Arachne test. PHP callback ID 40. Uploads to there. Yeah, I guess it's okay. Poseidon is here. Okay. Let's see. Change the Apollo and Poseidon. Callback host to use HTTP. I could go Vim it. I'm just gonna let it do it. Let's see. Apollo's callback ID. Oh, let me go grab that real quick. For Apollo's callback ID, we need 41 and 43 for Poseidon. Let's see. So for Apollo, use callback 41. And for Poseidon, use callback 43. Did I get that right? Let me double check. Let's see. 43 is Poseidon and 41 is Apollo. Okay, good. Just let it do the config updates for me. It's faster than me vimming it. Would I punch my wife for $1 billion? I would not hold back 1 inch. And yes, and she knows that. For $1 billion, I would just go fucking Kaioken. She knows me too. I just happen to have $1 billion here. Awesome. Once it's in escrow, verified escrow band, and not in some shit coin, we'll talk. I will live stream that shit. I know, I don't think a lot of people realize how many zeros are really on the end of $1 billion. Hey Gumby, do you have access to the swear jar? Okay. I didn't remember if I gave you access to that command. I thought you did. She'd return the favor harder than your punch. Dude, for $1 billion, I would freaking come in here in Hadoken or Kaioken sock, and I would just sit there and just let her get a full 50-yard running start and kick me in the nards as hard as she wanted to. Let's see. Run the full integration test suite. Edge on. We'll let that run. All right, I do need to wrap it up, unfortunately. Let's see. Did I miss any of the messages real quick before I hop off? Don't think so. All right. Let's go see who we can... Let me snooze the ads. Unfortunately, we do have to wrap up for tonight, guys. I do have to actually work in the morning. Let's see. Actually, hold on. Yeah, I'm forgetting the most important step in here. We need to go see who is on InfoSec streams. Where's the freaking window? I have too many windows open. Anybody on InfoSec streams? Unfortunately, that is a negatory ghostwriter. We are the only late night hackers around.
Okay, yeah, Rabbit, give me a second. I'll respond back to you. Let me see here. Let me go figure out somebody who we can go raid over. If anybody over on the Twitch side has somebody we can go raid over to, shout them out. Let's see. Who's doing software dev tonight? Who's doing some fun stuff? Let's see. Coppinger's on. He's actually doing stuff. Wait, go ahead. Ooh, you know what? Shindigs is on. What's he doing? Is he working on his game? I don't know what he's working on here. Yeah, he's doing something fun. We might go right over to Shindigs. Bad Cop is on? Let me go see. Let's go see. No. Braithorn's on. So Braithorn's been doing a lot of Pokemon streams lately. So that's the only reason why I don't usually just kind of default over to Braithorn. Although Bad Cop's screen just went blank. I don't know. Yeah, we'll go ahead and go right. Hold on, let me go see what Braithorn's doing real fast. Let me go see. What is Senior Braithorn doing right now? Actually, you know what? You know what? Sight, who's a good buddy of the channel, he's playing For Honor right now. And I haven't seen him in a while, and I want to make sure that he knows that I have not forgotten about him. So, we're going to do a game raid. Okay, Braithorn's doing Pokemon? Okay. I'm not going to hold that against him. He likes Pokemon. I want him to like Pokemon. But Psyched is over doing For Honored right now, and he's actually very good at the game. And I want him to remember that I remember him. So, we're going to go right over to him and show him a little love. Guys, do me a favor. When you get in there, I want you to drop a bunch of Hack the Planets and Happy Hackers so he knows exactly what he's been missing. How dare he stream his game instead of coming to hang out with us. All right, guys. That is where we got to wrap up. Tomorrow is Crushing It mode. If it's already Monday, where you currently are, then Crushing It mode should already be in full effect. There is no excuse. We will go crushing it. We will not go weekly into the week. And I want you all to get out there and just make stuff happen. Do things. Make it happen. Make your AI agent make it happen. Do the things. But keep a close eye on what it's doing. And I want you all to know that I very much appreciate you all coming to hang out and all the razzmatazz and just fun banter in the chat. And I want you all to remember one very important thing, and that is, well, two very important things. We have Wednesday night news stream coming up, same bat time, same bat channel. And the other thing I want you to remember is super important. I love you. Peace.